Hello everybody, welcome to Ask JP. Let's take a question from Ashwati Ram from Ernakulam, Kerala. She is a postgraduate student in public policy. Ashwati, go ahead.
Hello, sir. My name is Ashwati Ram. I come from Kerala and I'm a master's student in public policy and governance. I'd like to ask you a question. As we all know very well by now, the rich world has been disproportionately responsible for climate change, and they do have the capacity and resources to respond to them. Whereas the poorer nations do not have the resources to respond to climate change, and they have to bear a huge brunt of the costs involved. And many rich world leaders say that they can compensate for these effects by, funding green development projects in these developing nations. But without adequate carbon pricing or cross border emissions trading norms, this is an enormously difficult task. And even the investment promised by these developed nations is only a fraction of the costs that is required to put these developing economies on a green growth path. And this need to spend money on decarbonizing big developing economies, which includes a country like India, can threaten very essential services like education or healthcare. And that too at such a crucial juncture when we are in the aftermath of the pandemic and we've seen what impacts can happen to health because of environmental changes. So how do you propose that we navigate policy around this and this problem of allocation of resources at a national and global level?
Thank you, Ashwati. An incredibly important question in the face of global warming. And even in the recent weeks, we have seen what's happening in India in terms of flooding. We have seen what's happening in Europe and United States in terms of massive rise in temperatures and forest fires and so on and so forth. It's true that wealthy countries, they became prosperous. They utilized the fossil fuels. Energy, after all, is the engine of economic growth in the modern era. And therefore, they have been the biggest contributors to global warming by carbon dioxide emissions and so on and so forth. And they have committed $100 billion per year to help the developing countries in this transition. But what's the record so far? 2015 to 2020, in 5 years, $182 billion was at least allocated in various forms. Part of it grants, part bonds, part loans, part investments in equities. Now, that means per year it's only about $36 billion, 36%. Now, even if you make it $100 billion per year, which is a big if, many serious economists and scholars and scientists, they estimate the probable cost of transition of the economy from the fossil fuel-based system to the new energy grid, the renewable base, is likely to be about $15 trillion. $15 trillion, that is 15,000 billion dollars. And there is no way that kind of money will be raised by the rich countries when they are not raising $100 billion per annum. To think that they will raise something like $400-500 billion per annum in the next 30-40 years is unlikely. Now, while morally they are obligated, unfortunately, in the global polity, morality is a very weak weapon. Nation-state system is real, and the nations decide what they want, what they can afford. We can certainly persuade them, pressurize them a little bit, guilt them into doing something, but there is a limit to that. We have to recognize it, however painful it is, because there is no global government. There is only a nation-state system which is real. There is nothing enforceable beyond the nation-state system. So given that, we should try and do whatever we can to encourage the rich countries to spend more money for this, because everybody understands we are all in it together. But we also must recognize that every country has its own problems. Take United States, obviously the richest country on earth. But you go to American government at various levels, they have their own resource constraints. They have their own problems every day. You go to Britain, even now there is a strike going on of some public sector workers or other. Some weeks ago it was the healthcare workers. So every country is going through this trauma. And they're worried about their problems. And politically, because their electorate elects them, they have to be on the lookout for them. Any government that says, I am promoting global good, but at the cost of my voters, my constituents, then that government is sure to lose the election. So these are the realities of modern life. But we are lucky as a globe. If the problem was 30 years ago, we really had no solution, because the alternatives in terms of renewable sources of energy or better technologies, they were much too expensive. They were not yet ready for application. Today, human society is incredibly lucky. Most of these technologies actually are cheaper than the old traditional fossil fuel-based technologies. Only thing is the transition, where you already have the old energy grid, how do you transition to the new energy grid? Because if you want, let's say, electric cars, you require charging stations. You require battery storage capacity. You require a whole lot of other things, not the same things as you did during the fossil fuel era. The transition costs money. But because most of the developing countries are still low stage of development, for instance, India's per capita energy consumption is only about 1,000 or 1,100 units per year, a unit being 1 kilowatt hour. Rich countries consume 8,000, 10,000, some countries 17,000, 20,000 units per year, per capita. Therefore, transition for them, if you take the aggregate on per capita basis, is much more costly, much more difficult. We are still at a low level of development. Many countries have still not come to a stage when everybody gets electricity. And of them, many countries still don't have 24-hour power. Therefore, we are still in an early stage, and that's actually a blessing in disguise. Leapfrogging is possible, a bit like your mobile phone technology. While the rest of the world, the rich world, has actually embraced the mobile phone technology, the first and second generations, we could directly go to the third generation. India is a good example. At a remarkably low cost, with reasonable efficacy of services, with very low tariffs, we could provide world-class services. So technology gives us that option. While we will demand and morally pressurize the rich countries to help us, ultimately we have to be capable of taking care of ourselves. We must stand on our own feet. And as I said, technology and economies, they certainly give us an opportunity. And finally, we must convert this crisis into an opportunity. Take India. 90% of the people in the workforce are still in an organized sector. If you actually skill them, and if you utilize the modern energy grids as opposed to the old-fashioned fossil fuel-based grids, we can create many jobs, but we must prepare our people to take up those jobs. Therefore, new patterns of education, better skills, and employment. So what was a nuisance could actually be an opportunity. So we'll do what best we can. There's no one answer. If the rich countries do their bit, fine, we'll pressurize, but don't rely on them. If we keep on whining and complaining, that doesn't solve the problem. And China and India offer a great hope. 10 years ago, we were doing the same thing in India, perhaps even in China, that you are responsible, you give us help. Now we actually owned it, both these countries. China is doing a remarkable job. India is only next to China in terms of the renewable energy grid being generated. And I think that's the right way, because these two countries realize that their economic prosperity in the future depends on their own innovation, their own investments, and their own owning this and embracing it, not as an afterthought, but actually as an opportunity to grow the economies. I think the rest of the world has to do. Yes, in some select countries, desperately poor countries, which are going to be directly affected by global warming in the sense that survival is threatened. Take Maldives, take some other Pacific island countries. The very survival of these countries could be at stake. But if we take the sum total of their populations, they're relatively small. There, I think the global community together must do something to help those nations, because there is no solution. They cannot, with their indigenous resources, survive. But many others, we'll see what best we can get from the other countries, particularly in the form of technology and investments rather than merely handouts and grants. But we have to really stand on our own feet, taking advantage of modern opportunities and new technologies.